This video is to help guide your understanding of how to create accessible class intercom posts. So we're starting out in the class intercom interface, and I'm going to take you through what your workflow should be whenever you're creating a new post in class intercom. So I'm going to assume that we are designing our post content in Canva. So in Canva, I have this design, and I'm going to do two things here. The first thing, I've done all of the accessibility checks. I've verified that my layering's correct. I've applied text semantics, done all of those things. So my flyer is ready to go and to be shared. So typically what we do is we share this as a PDF, but what we know is that if I share it as a PDF, I'm going to have to take that extra step and go into Adobe to fix any kind of tagging. And if we can avoid doing that, we want to avoid doing that because it's just a little bit complicated. So I'm going to go in here to my share features, and instead of downloading it as a PDF, I'm going to just copy the public view link. So I'm going to take that, and it gives me an opportunity to copy that. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into Class Intercom, getting ready to create my new social content. I'm going to pick my channels. I'm going to pick both ESU3X and ESU3 Facebook. I would decide what kind of post I want and when I want that to get posted. So your typical settings that you would select for a post are what you should select here. I'm going to just now paste that URL that I just copied right here into the message. Notice how it provides a preview of our content right here in the message board. The problem with this is that this image doesn't have alternate text, and I've got this really long URL that a screen reader is going to read. So I'm going to remove the preview because I want to have a picture that I can put alternative text to. So I'm removing the preview, and now I'm going to shorten my URL. Notice when I shorten the URL, it becomes significantly shorter. And I also have this toggle button to include a disclaimer or not. Here is what we have found. When we are using a link that is taking our user to content that we've built, so like a flyer, I would want to turn this disclaimer off. And the reason I do that is because what will happen if I leave it on is it's going to bring up another window to say you're about to leave this particular site, and you're going to, whatever outside external site it might be. Because the flyer is an internal resource, we don't really need to include that disclaimer. However, if my link is going to take them to a third-party site, like perhaps it's a partnership that we have with another institution, I would turn that disclaimer on, because now that ensures that the end user who's using a screen reader knows that they're leaving the content that was built by ESU3, and they're going to a party that is not ESU3. So if it's internal, we turn it off. If we're sending them outside of our content, we would turn it on. So I have that piece. I'm not quite done though, because now this is all my post looks like. There are two problems with this. One, I want to make sure the image that I created of that flyer is in here, and I need to give some context to that link. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in an image. So in my design, I also want to download my design, my flyer, as a picture. So I'm going to download as a picture, and I've already downloaded this, so I think it's not going to let me download it. Something went wrong. I do have this downloaded already, so I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to upload my image. I'm browsing to find it. So now I have my flyer image It's going to appear on both X and Facebook. Here's how I get to the alternative text. I have to double click on my image. Over here I have a preview of the image that will accompany my post. And here is where I need to put in my alternate text. I'm going to have it auto-generate my alternate text. When I click on this, it's going to close the window, but the text will be there. So I'm going to hit auto-generate. Open it back up to see what it generated. This is okay. I want to change it a little bit. It's a poster for an ESU CC cast training on designing accessible with details on date, location, and registration. I'm probably going to add a little bit more content than that with details. Actually, instead of with this, I'm going to put to okay, better. So now I have alternative text for my flyer. So my screen reader is going to read the alternative text, and then it's going to read my message. My message is still kind of a hot mess though, right? So when I close out of here, my alternative text is saved. I need to fix my message. So I'm probably going to include the title of my flyer. And I'm going to say access the flyer for additional information here. One of the problems, and we know that best practice would be to not use that language. However, in this interface, I cannot put text that will serve as a hyperlink for my actual link. So I have to provide context for the link, and this is how I would do it. It's better than leaving the very long link that we originally pasted in there, so the shortened link is somewhat more accessible, and by putting in the language or the sentence right before it, it provides context for where that link is going to go. So now I have an accessible link. One of the things that we want to be mindful of, as I was looking through our Facebook posts and Instagram posts, we like to use these emojis a lot to kind of set off line by line. The problem with doing that, you want to use them very sparingly, because if I have them for every single item that I'm posting for, visually that's kind of nice, but for a screen reader, it's going to read Facebook emoji font. Then it will tell you what the emoji is, and then it will say exiting Facebook emoji font, and then read what follows it. And it will do that for every single emoji that you have listed in the post. So I'm not saying you can't use them at all. You don't, but you want to use them very sparingly, so that for somebody who's relying on a screen reader, it isn't going to be so disruptive to the experience. So this is a draft. I'm not going to post it. I will go ahead and save it and confirm it, and it'll sit here so you can see. If I go to my content, it's going to show up here. This is what my post will look like. And that is a much more accessible post than if I would just throw the flyer in there and then a long link. If you have questions, as always, please feel free to reach out.